afterwards, I got a notification from the Department of Justice telling me that this was going to happen, when it had already happened. This woman abused children.
I am back after a few days in Boise and a long day of travel yesterday. And it's good to be back, I guess, dealing with some of the things we're going to be talking about, maybe not. Yesterday, Donald Trump was justifiably dragged for some comments he made about the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. It's a Democrat hoax. It's a hoax, which is troubling for a number of different reasons. First and foremost, the fact that yesterday was the day that many of Jeffrey Epstein's victims gathered in front of the United States Capitol for a press conference urging Congress to release the files, to pass legislation demanding that the DOJ release the documents they have that do indeed include Donald Trump's name. And while this was happening, he declared it a hoax once again. He also sent fighter jets to buzz over multiple jets, causing disruption, I guess, as an FU to these women who were sexually abused, raped, tortured by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, who's now receiving special treatment, preferred treatment, royal treatment from Donald Trump in the Bureau of Prisons. It also is troubling for the fact that in 2024, just months ago, Donald Trump, when asked if he's going to declassify the Jeffrey Epstein files, he didn't answer with a, what? Why would I do that? That's a hoax. That's not what he said. Let's revisit what he said before it became a hoax.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah. I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would.
Yeah, I would. There's some conditions in there, of course, always with Donald Trump. But yeah, he would. Notice, no talk of a hoax. Apparently, it wasn't a hoax until there was a very real threat of those files being released and us finding out exactly what his involvement was with the horror show that was conducted by Jeffrey Epstein, likely Donald Trump, possibly Donald Trump, and others. And as I've said before, and I'll say it again, I don't care who's in the files. If they took part in the systematic abuse of children, burn them all to the ground. Every single one of them. There's all kinds of talk about Bill Clinton in there. Wouldn't surprise me. Burn him to the ground. Bill Gates, for all of his philanthropy, burn him to the ground. Bury him under the prison. And most certainly, if Donald Trump is in there as well, he should go down. This should be all of our priority, is protecting children, should it not? This is what took place. I'm going to get to the flyover, and I'm going to get to some clips of these victims and their horrific stories. But before I do, I want you to know what Donald Trump was saying while the press conference was taking place. Watch this.
Mr. President, right now, there have been survivors of Jeffrey Epstein speaking at a press conference on Capitol Hill. They're calling for these case files, these documents to be released. And Thomas Massey, who is sponsoring a discharge of physicians who get the House to vote on release those documents, says he doesn't believe you're implicated in these files, but many of your friends and donors may be. And he says that's why the Justice Department is redacting them and slow walking the release. Is the Justice Department protecting any friends or donors, sir?
So this is a Democrat hoax that never ends. It reminds me a little of the Kennedy situation. We gave him everything over and over again, more and more and more, and nobody's ever satisfied. From what I understand, I could check, but from what I understand, Thousands of pages of documents have been given, but it's really a Democrat hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president. Even if you look at D.C. right now, D.C., it's a totally safe zone. It's called a safe zone. That's a term. It's a term of art. It's a safe zone because it's very safe. You can walk down the street now and nothing's going to happen. No crime, no murders, no nothing. Because we had a lot of problems with certain places, and we still do. All run by Democrats, or for the most part, run by Democrats. So what they're trying to do with the Epstein hoax is get people to talk about that instead of speaking about the tremendous success like ending 7 wars. I ended 7 wars. Nobody's going to talk about because they're going to talk about the Epstein whatever. Sir, I understand that we were subpoenaed to give files, and I understand we've given thousands of pages of files. And I know that no matter what you do, it's going to keep going. And I think it's enough because I think we should talk about the greatness of our country and the success that we're having. I think we're probably having, according to what I read, even from 2 people in this room, we're having the most successful 8 months of any president ever. And that's what I want to talk about. That's what we should be talking about, not the Epstein hoax.
When you make a decision on Ukraine, Mr. President?
What happened to, absolutely. What happened was he was campaigning then and needed to appeal to the base that's been fired up about the Jeffrey Epstein files for years and years and years at his behest because it benefited him politically. Not the case anymore. Now they've granted him what he wanted, which is power, unchecked power, and he's not going to do it. He's not going to release it. Republicans now are covering for a child sex predator. They're lying in order to protect the pedophile president, many think. Notice I say many think. I'm covering myself from defamation lawsuits. We don't know. I don't know. But I can make a guess based on the behavior that we're witnessing. Why are they doing everything in their power to ensure that these files don't become public after promising time and time again that they were going to? It raises serious questions that we all need to have answered. Now, I don't know if what you just witnessed from Donald Trump was spoken while the press conference was happening or just minutes after. But this is what they're covering for. This is who they are protecting. Listen to this woman tell her story in this brief clip that she was on Jeffrey Epstein Island, held captive at 10 years old, being brutalized on a daily basis, multiple times a day. This is what they're running interference for in the Republican Party.
I have spent the last 17 years in my own prison for what she, Jeffrey, and all the co-conspirators did to me. I was raped repeatedly. I was raped 3 times a day sometimes. And I was not the only girl on that island. There was a constant stream of girls being raped over and over and over again. And yes, Ghislaine must die in prison because I've been in hell and back for the last 17 years.
And 27 for me.
I was 10 years old when Liz Stein was being trafficked. I was 10. That is how long the sex trafficking ring.
That's why I say, burn them to the ground. This is the thing that Donald Trump does not want people to find out about. And it's not just he doesn't want his reputation tarnished because he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein. By Jeffrey Epstein's own account, best friends for 15 years. It's not that. It's the crimes involved. It's not the pubic hair signature cartoon where here's to another year of wonderful secrets, Jeffrey. It's not that. It's the actual crimes that will be uncovered. Here's the moment of the flyover, the disruption, almost as an FU to these ladies who are bravely out there speaking their truth, speaking the truth to power, literally and metaphorically, as they stand in front of the Capitol building of these United States. Watch this.
I was horrified when I found out not only had Ghislaine Maxwell been transferred to what's called a low security. It's really is like a holiday camp, and then afterwards I got a notification from the Department of Justice telling me that this was going to happen, when it had already happened. This woman abused children. I was abused by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell for over 10 years. Ghislaine Maxwell was present for some of my abuse at the hand of Jeffrey Epstein. She was present, she was complicit, she was enabling, and it is appalling and disgusting. And it's one of my worst nightmares that she not only be transferred, but at the possibility that's very much going around that she might be pardoned. This is not okay, guys. This is not okay.
And I just want to add that I think it sends a very dangerous message to our country, to the young people in our country, that someone that we all know is aware of these crimes could be given a pass.
And just for the last survivor who just spoke, the last survivor who just spoke, she said that Epstein would brag about her relationship with Donald Trump. Could she please elaborate about that?
Shante.
To the microphone. Yeah, I did say that. My first trip to the Palm Beach residence, I drove there from the airport with Ghislaine Maxwell, and Jeffrey and Ghislaine were always very boastful about their friends, their
Look, we are in a very disgusting place as a country where this is our president. That this is the thing that they are trying to hide, to cover up for. Where our mighty righteous man of God, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, is certainly doing what Jesus would do, right? The man, Jesus, who said that it's better for a millstone to be tied around the neck of someone and have them thrown into the bottom of the sea than for them to harm a child. How are you lining up your deeply held religious convictions, Mike Johnson, against that? Sickening. I'd love your opinion. Have you obviously been following the story? You can comment below. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me, as always, daily@dollemore.com. I appreciate you being here. Glad to be back in studio in my comfortable surrounds, not sitting in a little table in a hotel room where my whole rhythm's off. It's weird how certain comfort items, I didn't have my Constitution with me. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Good to be back. Be genuine. Take care of one another.